Hello. Well, we are now at the close. Those have been 3 amazing days with a lot of learnings, a lot of meetings, a lot of everything, a lot of inspiration, I hope. We usually start with a lot of intelligence, a lot of exploration. This is how we started Thursday morning. What we love to do at ChangeNOW is also to finish with wisdom. That's why we are today having a special guest here who will join us. I would just take my seat here before announcing her, but I'm very glad to welcome here at ChangeNOW Dr. Jane Goodall. She's the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute. She's an ethologist, anthropologist. She's also messenger of peace for the United Nations. And she's also nicknamed the woman who changed the definition of men when she discovered that some chimpanzees were able to have tools which we think was the proper of the human being. Please give a big round of applause for Jane Goodall. Jane, how are you?
As usual, doing too much, constantly exhausted, but very happy because it seems that what I'm doing is making a difference, giving people hope. And if we don't have hope, then our future indeed is very, very grim.
Well, Jane, we are already receiving your hope. As soon as we see you, I think we have the heart growing somewhere. And we send you a lot of love from Paris.
And I send lots of love to Paris from England. Love to you all.
Well, Jane, when we started to have this discussion about you joining ChangeNOW, I asked to my team, OK, what does it mean to you, the name Jane Goodall? And someone told me, well, she gives a sense of plenitude, of self-confidence. And we thought about it, and I was thinking maybe this self-confidence, because I think it wasn't easy for you through your life to keep this self-confidence. I guess it's also because you were accompanied with your mother, with a great mentor. Well, you have an entourage, and I think the force of an entourage helps that. And I think everyone here in the room is also part of an entourage. So what would be the, how can we be a fruitful entourage? How can we give self-confidence to others?
Okay, well, let me start with my mother. When I was a very little girl, I was born loving animals, and my mother supported this love of animals, and she found books for me about animals because she knew I might learn to read more quickly. It was during World War II when I was growing up. And anyhow, she gave me this confidence because when I was 10, I decided I would grow up, go to Africa, live with wild animals and write books about them. And everybody said, impossible. But not my mother. She said, well, if you really want to do something like this, you're going to have to work really hard, take advantage of every opportunity. And if you don't give up, maybe you find a way. And that's the message I've given to young people all around the world, particularly those in disadvantaged communities. And the number who've written and said, you know, thank you because you've taught me, because you did it, I can do it too. So the answer to your question is having people around you who are supportive, who share your vision, and it makes all the difference in the world. So when you say my mother came with me to Tanzania to study the chimpanzees, that wasn't because I had to have my mummy, you know. It was because the British authorities, in what was then the last outpost of the crumbling British Empire, they said they wouldn't accept responsibility for a young English girl on her own out in the dangerous forest. But eventually they said, all right, if she has a companion, she can come. And so my great mentor, who proposed that I would study chimpanzees in the first place, persuaded my mother to come for the first 4 months of what then was a study that was only supposed to be 6 months, because that's all the money we could get. And so right from the beginning, I have been nurtured by the supportive attitude of people in my life. And that continues to today. None of us can do anything alone. We need a support system. And I've had an amazing support system.
Thank you. You can applaud when you want. You can cheer. We can do react everything you want. Jane, just before we're gonna go through a lot of topics during the 25 minutes we have in front of us. The first one I wanted to discuss with you is interconnectedness. At ChangeNOW, we have developed a framework to create all the editorial line to say that actually we need to solve 4 equations at the same time. This is super complicated, but we have 4 challenges to solve at the same time. We have one we hear a lot about, which is the climate change. Climate change, this is the first equation. But we also have the equation of resources. How can we just reduce our consumption so we don't consume 2 planets every year? The third is the biodiversity. How can we safeguard biodiversity? And the fourth is the place of humans in all this. How can we make this transition inclusive? And how can we change, would say, the stories we tell, the future we want to build together? So how can we align and unify those 4 equations according to you?
Well, that's quite a question, isn't it? I mean, it would take me a long time to answer in detail. But, let me say that of your 4 problems that we have to solve, climate change, loss of biodiversity, the fact that we're using up the natural resources of the planet, which are finite, faster than nature can replenish them, because of our unsustainable lifestyles and unrealistic expectations. We also have to solve poverty, and we have to solve the unsustainable lifestyle of so many of us. We want more than we actually need. And so how do we work with all these different problems? Well, what I see, that our human species right now is living through very, very dark times. And I see us at the mouth of a very long and very dark tunnel. And right at the end of that tunnel is a little star shining. That star is hope. But we don't sit at the mouth of the tunnel and expect that little star to come to us. No, we have to roll up our sleeves and we have to crawl under, climb over, work our way around all these obstacles that lie between us and the star. And those obstacles we've already mentioned. And as we go, we have to reach out to others and take them with us. And the great thing is that with all the problems that you've mentioned and all the others, like, the loss of the soil, the pollution of the soil, pollution of the air, pollution of the ocean, all these other things that we all know about, there are people around the world tackling every single one of these problems. There's a group or groups tackling. What we need to do is to come out of our silos, out of our single track minds and join together, because I learned in the rainforest that everything is interconnected. And all these problems we've mentioned, if you solve one problem without solving the others, you don't really get very far. So as we go down this dark tunnel, we reach out to others who are trying to solve the problems. And together, with coordination, we might have a chance of reaching that star.
And you mentioned that we need to interconnect this also in all aspects. And I mean, culture is maybe a way to do this. We need to create the new stories, the culture we want to build together. And for example, I wish you could have come to ChangeNOW in person to see here. Maybe we are just under a big globe, 7 meters of diameter globe. It's an art piece by Luc Jerome. And we have a lot of art here just to show that actually everything is interconnected. And this planet shows it. Because actually, for the story and also for the audience here, the presence of this planet is because I would say, when the first astronauts went into space, we realized that people coming back from the space were developing a new sense of attachment to the planet Earth, to nature, and everything. And we call this the overview effect. The overview effect, this is the sentiment of feeling the fragility of planet Earth. And since then, there are a lot of artists who try to replicate these overview effects. So anyone here in this room, for example, can try to feel this sense of finitude of planet and of interconnectedness. This is part of a story, and stories play a big role. According to you, what are the stories we should tell today?
Well, I think one of the very important stories that we should tell is the fact that we are part of the natural world, although increasingly young people are being separated from the natural world as they're on cell phones and things like that. The virtual world, for some of them, is more real than the actual real nature. But in fact, we are dependent on the natural world. We're dependent for air, for water, for food, for everything. But what we're dependent on is healthy ecosystems. And a healthy ecosystem is composed of a complex, interrelated mix of animals and plants. And if we see that as like a tapestry, a beautiful tapestry, every time one species disappears, it's like pulling a thread from the tapestry. And we find that every little plant and animal species has a role to play. And if enough threads are pulled from that tapestry, then it will hang in tatters and the ecosystem will collapse. And as I said, we depend on healthy ecosystems. So we need to understand that for our own survival, we need to think differently about our relationship with the natural world. We need to think more like the indigenous people, that we are part of the natural world. That is something that is really, really important. And I was lucky. I learned about this interrelationship when I was in the rainforests of Gombe National Park in Tanzania, studying the chimpanzees. So that is, number one. That's a very important story. We're part of this ecosystem. And what is so extraordinary to me, chimpanzees are more like us, sharing 98% of our DNA than any other creature. But we're clearly different. So what is the main difference? The main difference is the explosive development of our intellect. And I think this was partly triggered by the fact that in some point in our evolution, we humans developed a language of spoken words. So for the first time, we could talk to our children about things that weren't present. We could make plans for the distant future. We could bring people together from different skill sets to try to solve a problem. So clearly, we're the most intellectual creature that's ever walked the planet. But I don't know if you all understand the difference between intellect and intelligence. Our intellect has enabled us to send a rocket to Mars from which a little robot crawled to take photos. It's not intelligent to find that we're destroying the only home we have, which is planet Earth. That's what I can learn from my study of chimpanzees. But at the same time, I've learned, because of the chimpanzees, that other animals are sentient just like us. They have their own personalities, their, their feelings, their emotions. And we need to start treating the environment and animals in the way that they deserve to be treated.
Well, you give a lot of respect to nature, and I think also this is one of the values that we need, and that you really show here through your message. I will just ask one question, and I think it would be great to have maybe one or two mics for maximum, I think, two questions in the audience, so you can prepare your questions. And then I will just get back to for the last topic after the two questions, just so you know the plan. We have a lot of young people in the room. We had a lot of young change makers also during the 3 days. Youth is a real topic of this edition of ChangeNOW, because we had a lot of testimonies of young people suffering from eco-anxiety, also sometimes overcoming this eco-anxiety as well, which is super helpful, and a lot of young people with great and amazing solutions that they're developing on their region or globally sometimes. If you have one message to give to all the young people in the room, what would it be?
Well, it's a message I would give to everybody, not only the young people. But what you say is so true. I get young people and older people coming to me and saying that they feel helpless and hopeless. The world is in a mess. We're living through very dark times. They feel helpless because they're one individual. And what can one individual possibly do? Well, it's true. If you look around the world, you're bound to feel depressed, aren't you? You cannot look at what's going on with the environment and the society, with war, and not feel depressed. But it's absurd to think that one person can change the world. So I always tell people, well, think about where you live. Are there problems there that perhaps you care about, like litter or homelessness or stray dogs or something like that? Well, go there, see what you can do, see if you can encourage other people to join you. Try and make a difference. That will make you feel good. Feeling good, you want to feel better. You'll try and do more. You will inspire more people. And because I was so concerned about young people losing hope, that's way back in the 1980s, already young people were losing hope. And they said to me, well, we feel like this because you, older people, have compromised our future and there's nothing we can do about it. And some of them were angry, some of them were deeply depressed, most of them were just apathetic. Well, we don't really care. You know, there's nothing we can do, so they'll do nothing. Apathy. And they're right. We have been compromising their future. We have been stealing their future as we destroy the environment. But was it true that there was nothing to be done about it? No. That I will not believe. And so I began our program for young people, which is growing in France, 65 countries. And it's a program that has as a message, every single individual makes an impact on the planet every single day. And we get to choose what sort of impact we make. And because I learned about the interconnection of everything in the rainforest, I said every group of this program for young people, which we call Roots and Shoots, every group will choose, they will choose, we won't dictate to them. 3 projects, one to help people, one to help animals, and one to help the environment. And this program has really, really enabled young people to get together around the world, to share the problems, to share the solutions, to discuss what they're doing. And I'm telling you that when I look at the darkness that we're surrounded by, it's the young people and what they're doing that is giving me the most hope. Because as we speak now, in different countries, they are changing the world. And so in 65 countries, a family is growing, and it's growing all the time. And it's got young people from kindergarten and university. And there are more and more adults wanting to join in. And so it's one of my greatest hopes for the future, empowering young people, listening to their voices and helping them in their efforts to change the world in the way that they feel is most important to them.
Jane, we're going to take 2 questions from the audience, if you agree. There's just one here. And sorry, I spotted her before. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Caitlin Southwick from Key Culture. And first of all, it's such an honor, and thank you so much for all of your incredible work. One thing that you said that really resonated with me was the connection to nature and how, as humans, we are a part of nature, but we've really lost sight of that. And I think that one of the reasons I've dedicated my life and my career to protecting this beautiful planet is because I was fortunate enough to grow up in Colorado in the mountains, very connected to nature. But so many people these days are born and raised in cities, and nature is only something they see on a documentary on TV. So how do we reconnect with nature? How do we re-enter ourselves into this when maybe we don't often get to experience it?
Well, very good question, a very important question, because as I've said, our young people are beginning to live in a virtual world. It's now being proved scientifically that we actually need to be in nature for our mental and physical health, and that young people, particularly very young people, need to be in nature for their good psychological development. So the Jane Goodall Institute around the world is planting trees to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and, to try to mitigate climate change. But it's not just that we're trying to protect the forests, which is terribly important. It's not just that we're trying to restore areas which were forested that we have destroyed, which is very important, but it's also greening urban areas. It's planting trees in cities. It's creating green areas in cities. It was in Japan that they invented something called forest bathing. When I first heard about forest bathing, I thought, what would you do? Put on a swimming costume and a swimming cap and go into the forest? And of course, it doesn't mean that. It means go into the forest or go into any place where there are a few trees, even if it's a city park, and sit there and just allow nature, the song of the birds and the insects, to fill you up with something we can't get in any other way. And in fact, now in Japan and Canada, doctors are actually able to prescribe forest bathing as part of the prescription they will give to a patient. So this greening of urban areas, it first of all, it mitigates climate change, it makes cooler shade, it brings birds and insects back into the cities. We're beginning to make corridors of green, linking one area to another so that little animals can safely travel. We're beginning to let the verges of green roads grow with wildlife so that butterflies and other creatures can move from place to place. So what you say is so true, and with Roots and Shoots, we're trying desperately to get young people into nature, even if it's just into a city park, because it's so very, very important. We need to get back to the way the indigenous people feel about the natural world, that we're part of it. We shouldn't feel separated from it. And we've all got to work to enable our children to have that experience to be whole human beings.
We're going to take the second question just there in the middle. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask you this question. And well, you in particular have seen how the world has changed, how we have lost too much biodiversity. So my question is how you can keep, how you can maintain that peace, that hope, if the world take you the otherwise, if the world show you contrary, if the world show you inequality, injustice, and every time it's more and more and more, how you can maintain that hope, because I really want to understand. I am young and I am losing that hope in some moment. How you do it?
Well, you know, sadly, it's not just you who's losing hope. It's people all around the world who are losing hope. And quite honestly, if we lose hope, we're doomed. Because I don't know how you feel, but if you lose hope, you feel, well, there's nothing I can do, and you do nothing. If we all lose hope and do nothing, we're doomed. So how do I maintain my hope? Well, I've already talked to you about my hope in the young people. And, you know, I'm a very obstinate person, and I'm now 88 years old. I don't know how many years I have ahead of me. People say, well, should be slowing down. I have to speed up because I don't know how much longer I have. And I'm not going to give up. I will die fighting for saving the planet to my last breath. But there are a lot of reasons for hope. We're surrounded by doom and gloom in the media. It's everywhere. And we need to know what's going wrong. Indeed, we do, because we are destroying the planet. But at the same time, as I was traveling around the world, I had the privilege of meeting so many incredible people who were tackling things that seemed impossible, who were trying to bring back nature into an area that had been destroyed and were succeeding. I've seen places that were reduced to just bare earth, and give nature a chance, nature will reclaim it. I've met people who've saved animals on the brink of extinction and given them another chance. And I've seen this in every country around the world. I want the media to give more space to the good, successful stories, to give people hope. If they can do it, we can do it. If they can bring nature back to this destroyed area, well, then we can bring nature back to a destroyed area here. And people who are tackling poverty, which is incredibly important because poor people destroy the environment because they have to live and they want more land to grow food, or they want to make money from timber or charcoal or something like that. Or in a city, they're going to buy the cheapest junk food because they can't afford to ask, as we can, did this product harm the environment when it was made? Was it cruel to animals, like in these terrible factory farms? Is it cheap because of unfair wages in other parts of the world? If so, don't buy it. And that consumer pressure is changing business. So we need to have a feeling, all of us, of the good things that are happening, of the new awareness that has spread around the world, I would say, in the last 10 years, of the amazing projects, the people who are beginning to use this incredible intellect we have to create new ways of us living in harmony with nature, like for example, solar panel is one, solar power is one example of renewable energy. And the more that we know about the changes that have happened, about the new awareness, about the energy and commitment of young people, when we empower them to take action. The more we know about the resilience of nature, the more that we are prepared to buckle up our belts and tighten our belts and do things for the good of the planet. Will it cost a bit more to buy organic food that hasn't harmed the soil, that hasn't harmed biodiversity? Are we prepared to pay a little bit more? Well, if you pay a little bit more, you value the food more and you waste less. And waste is a huge problem. The food that we waste in the Western world could feed some villages in the developing world for weeks, and we just throw it into a landfill. But we're beginning to realize the error of our ways. We're beginning to try to do something about it. So if we remember that each one of us in our different positions can make a difference, and if we decide every single day I live, I'm going to try and make ethical choices, I'm going to try to inspire others, I'm going to try to be respectful to other people, to animals, and to the natural world, then we're beginning to move towards the kind of future that will give people like you who asked this question and the young people who are losing hope, will give you hope, and it will give the young people hope. And before you all go, I want to ask this person who asked the question, does this answer begin to satisfy why you asked it? Is it helpful? I want to know that. Can you tell me? Has this answer helped you?
The sound is arriving, Jane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, after your word, after your speech, who cannot feel hope? But yeah, I mean,
I can't hear.
no.
Oh,
No.
you can tell it again, sorry?
Yeah?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Do you hear something, Jane?
No.
Oh.
No, she can't.
Do you hear me, Jane? No, I think the mic has been off. Jane?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you there?
Well, I think it's a privilege to have her here.
Ben, if you're listening, I can't hear anything.
We're only
I
saying
don't know
good
if
things.
anybody can hear me.
We can hear you, and what? Well,
I'm not sure I understand. Is there something else I can help with?
Are you talking to me? Because I couldn't hear for a while.
do you hear us now?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
No.
Who's asking? Is this a question to me?
No.
Interesting question.
Well, I think we're going to finish there, but we'll try to say a big thank you and a big round of applause, because if we can't say any more, so I just... Well, it's always too short with Jane, actually. Yeah. We could listen to her for hours, and well, techniques has to do their things to just stop things, I guess. Well, that's it. That's a wrap. We're really at the end. We'll give just a last message for everyone, and for this, I would just like also a round of applause for my two co-founders, Rose and Kevin. Le bouquin? Non, non, ok. Yeah, we had a joke for the 3 days, which was we wanted to create a Change Now move. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Uh, Little change makers. Yeah. And they bring hope.
Thank you, Fleur d'ici.
Well, it was amazing to be with you during those 3 days. Really. I think that we are all in the team. I'm a bit sad because we put a lot of time to prepare all this, and it's already over. Well, we are also very tired because the 3 days just felt like 5 days because Change Now is going during the day, during the night, during the day after, and so on. So thank you very much, everyone, to be here. I think we want just to give some thanks to all those who made this possible, actually.
Yeah, big thanks to all those who made this possible, all those who contributed to the content, the speakers, the amazing leaders of change who came on stage, the exhibitors, the pitchers, and all our partners also who made this possible. Also, we wanted to thank all those who made it possible behind the scene, because what you maybe don't know is that behind the scene we are more than 500 people, including all the technicians, the production, yeah, the volunteer, the team, and so a special thank for our agency, MoMA. There are you have no idea how tough that was. We had only 2 days to build everything here. It was very tight, and they did a job. Well, you have no idea how great they did. Big thanks also to the volunteers. So we have an amazing team of volunteers. Every year, it's incredible to have people join the movement, give some time to make all this happen, and yeah, that's something that's super touching for us to see their support. And last but not least, of course, a big thanks to the team. So please come on stage. So, this is just the best team ever. Well, all ChangeNOW is just a huge collective work. And yeah, those guys are just amazing.
And a big thank you to you all who came here for the past 3 days. You know, we came to inspire you, and in the end, we are the one who got inspired. So thank you so much for being here. Do not lose hope for the questions we've heard before. The job is not done, but it can be done. It can be done. You've seen it all here. There are so many solutions, and it can be done if we keep this conversation going on every day, at home, at work, with our families. Because of you being here and listening to all those great change makers, this is going to happen. So we really hope that you go home with this idea that we're going to make it, and all together. So yeah, let's go for it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, you don't have the idea of how much we are enjoying your energy, actually, because last year we did this in digital, and it wasn't the same. And definitely not. So thank you very much again, and just I think we can just say see you next year. Yeah.